The following podcast is scheduled for one recording with no time limit. Making their way down to somewhere in the ring, Andrew Sanford and Ryan Sprague.
Bow, 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 bow. Love it. Andrew.
Hi, Ryan.
We are somewhere in the ring, buddy. How's it feel to be in the ring yet again?
Pretty great. This is our
Right?
podcast where we talk about pro wrestling, some other things as well, but mostly pro wrestling, mostly WWE stuff. But we talk about other companies too. Check out our Somewhere in the Indies mini-series if you want some more of that, because it's pretty fantastic. And we've talked to some awesome wrestlers already. But today we're going to go over our top 3 favorite factions. We've got some factions from fans that are coming in, which is very exciting, even coming in right now.
Literally, as we're recording.
Literally right now. And you and I are going to present our favorite 3 factions. And I think there's just going to be a lot of faction talk pretty much across the board today because there's a lot of faction stuff going on in WWE currently.
Yes.
So it's really exciting stuff. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm really excited about today. It's going to be a fun one. I have been running around all day, so usually that 20-page outline I send you is only about 19 pages this time. So if people are watching this, I do want to point out I'm in somewhere in the skies mode. If you can't tell by my background, I've got the Communion alien, I've got the Roswell newspaper, I've got a bunch of old UFO books. I was clearly recording an episode of Somewhere in the Skies recently, so I haven't been able to shift it over to Somewhere in the Ring mode, so apologies.
I'm trying to remember, and this is kind of a deep cut. Communion might be one of my earlier lockdown memories.
Yes.
Maybe?
I want to say...
You had me watch that like when lockdown started?
Oh, dude, you and I have
to
watched
talk about on Somewhere in the Skies?
So many movies for Somewhere in the Skies, which I am forever indebted to you for. We watched Dark Skies. We watched Communion. We watched...
I remember Dark Skies because I'm sure anybody else would be like, oh, Dark Skies. So you got this great collection of actors. You've got, this story that feels kind of... All I remember is a dude riding his motorcycle on the sidewalk. That's my favorite part of that movie.
That's what you...
Wait
a minute.
Literally,
that was
I think
Fire
Dark
in
Skies...
the Sky. That was Fire in the Sky.
Right. That's right. No, Dark Skies was the Kerry Russell one.
Yes,
and
that was that
J.K.
one.
Simmons.
Correct.
Is it Kerry Russell?
Yes.
And that's one of those ones where it's like all dialogue from transcripts.
That was Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, the fourth kind. Dude, we've watched so many. Welcome to Somewhere in the Ring, guys.
Yeah, wrestling.
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 Also, I should also point out the hat I'm wearing today. I want to give a special shout out to Anne Serling, who is Rod Serling's daughter.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, I won this hat. So I'm a member of the Rod Serling Foundation. And they do raffles every now and again. And this was a prize that I won for being a card-carrying member. So
that's pretty great.
Special shout out to the Rod Serling Foundation for this Twilight Zone hat. If you're just listening to this, it's the classic insignia. And I'm forever grateful for that. And check out the Rod Serling Foundation. It's great. We talk about writing. We talk about Rod Serling, the history of him writing, creating.
How have you never brought this up to me before?
I don't know. I don't know why I haven't done that. But
I'll watch Twilight Zone to fall asleep some nights because it's like a comfort thing. Like I don't. Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool.
Well, I'll get you in. I'll get you.
No, I don't want to now. I don't want it now.
Oh,
fair. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Should we talk some wrestling, buddy? We've got some.
So. Yeah. We've been avoiding it so much.
I know, right? It's almost like we want to do a Twilight Zone UFO show, but no, we're here to talk wrestling. Do you want to tell us the one story we have for our news section for this week?
Yeah, let me pull up this outline. So the one story: WWE announces deal to bring WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, and SummerSlam to Indianapolis, which is pretty wild. I feel like this is I don't want to say like a TKO or UFC thing specifically, but I feel like they like doing things in the same places a lot. I feel like this could also be something that is spun out of the unfortunate Saudi Arabia deal, whereas they just like to be set up in the same place pretty often and have this kind of like recurring relationship with the city, with the venue and those things. And I know they've been trying to bring stuff to the Midwest for quite a while, which always seems kind of funny to me. But
why is that?
Because I feel like they're very coastal, but like Midwesterners like wrestling.
Yeah,
It might just be that like maybe the venues aren't up to snuff for them. I'm sure live shows go out there and stuff, but I feel like I'm sure there have been pay-per-views in the Midwest to some extent, but it feels like it doesn't happen that often, especially not for the big uns. The big uns always feel very coastal, even like South Coast. They still.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Mexico is there. It's not a coast. But yeah, keep going. Sorry. Good Lord.
Welcome to Geography Hour.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Well, and I think we really do have to thank, and I can't believe I'm saying this, especially off the heels of him interviewing a former president. People like Logan Paul for Cleveland doing SummerSlam this year.
Sure.
Or you've got Pat McAfee with the whole Indianapolis thing. So like,
I didn't know that aspect of it.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe these people, and you have McIntyre to thank for campaigning for Clash at the Castle and really putting Scotland on the map. And so yeah, I think the talent does have a lot to do with a lot of these deals being made, possibly.
Sure.
But this is interesting. We should add, that Indianapolis will host a future 2-night SummerSlam. So now SummerSlam is going to be 2 nights. How do you feel about that? I'm not really down for that. I feel like it kind of takes away from WrestleMania.
Kind of, because it's right in the middle, isn't it? Isn't it like aren't they? I feel like it kind of splits. I get having 2 of those big events a year.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I don't mind SummerSlam being a big deal. I feel like it used to be a bigger deal. And I feel like that's kind of like fallen away. So I don't mind. There's no risk of them having to wrestle in 30-degree temperatures and stuff like that. So there's that. That'll be good if they do like the big outdoor arena kind of stuff, which it especially looks like they're doing for Indianapolis. I'm a Royal Rumble guy, but you can only make the Royal Rumble so big because it's so on the heels of WrestleMania. So I don't know. I don't know if I mind this. We'll see. I think it all comes down to how you justify it.
Yeah.
And this is it 2 nights this year?
It will be 2 nights in Cleveland.
Okay.
And moving forward, it looks like too. Yeah. That's what I'm getting here.
Yeah, I was just talking with my older brother about this yesterday, who works at ringsidecollectibles.com. Check out Ringside Collectibles if you like wrestling, especially wrestling figures. Big Tom over there. I'm sure he hates that I just called him that. But
I don't know why I'm laughing at that, but
WWE has a lot of different storylines going on right now that all feel very different. So there's a lot that they could build up to pad out those 2 nights at SummerSlam. And it's the first time in a while that I felt that way, especially post-draft. Sometimes with the draft, the kind of problem is that things overshadow each other, or there's not enough going on, or there's like too much going on, but it all feels the same. But right now you've got Raw has the Wyatt 6 situation going on. And there's also the Drew McIntyre CM Punk thing going on. NXT's got the big TNA crossover stuff going on, which is making it feel like its own like really exciting thing. And that like it has the potential for so many fun storylines. Like NXT is really doing some very cool stuff right now.
Yeah.
And then SmackDown, you've still got Cody Rhodes, and you've got the Bloodline, which just got a nice boost of adrenaline this past week. We'll get into that in a little bit. So I think there is enough to warrant 2 nights, but we'll see if that holds. A lot of things can happen between then and now. But I like this idea. Almost immediately, you would. Do you know what I think is interesting? And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't. With all the factions that we have right now, all the prominent factions, we haven't really seen faction versus faction action in a little bit. Faction versus faction action. Faction action. Yeah, we you know what I mean? I feel like almost immediately I'm like, oh, we'll put Bloodline up against the Wyatt Six, or put Judgment Day up against Imperium. Which, did they do that? Maybe they didn't.
I don't
Well, I guess,
recall.
and now Imperium is only 2 people, so who knows? I know they
For
put Imperium
now.
against New Day. Yes, for now.
For now.
But I'm wondering when we're gonna see that, some factions squaring off.
Dude, that's a
We'll see.
pay-per-view PLE right there. Faction
Yeah, there
action.
you go. Faction
Colossal
action.
tussle.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
Battle of the tough guys.
Here we are again, giving
We
WWE
got it.
gold.
We have to watch No Holds Barred for the Patreon. That's happening. I'm adding it to the list. We'll make that happen soon. I'm putting it out there now, so our feet have to be held to the fire. We got to do some Patreon episodes where we talk about wrestling movies, because there's quite a few.
Yeah, more than people would think. Yeah,
we can even talk about Life with Mikey, where they go to a wrestling match towards the end, and Jerry Lawler is in there in a luchador mask.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he pops Michael J. Fox up on his shoulders. It's
yeah. Ah, so great. All right, buddy. Well, before we get to our recaps of SmackDown and Raw, I do want to mention 2 things. We haven't even had an episode since Wyatt, Sick6 have showed up, all that stuff.
It's true, yes, because we were recording while it was happening. Yeah,
we were, and we recorded our most popular episode to date, and that was with Brisby, the YouTuber. And
she's awesome. Shout out to Brie.
Amazing.
She was great.
Shout out to Brie. Our numbers have quadrupled since having her on. So
there we go.
Huge thank you to her for giving us a chance. And she killed it. That was such a fun episode.
And if you're joining us now because of that, check out some of our older episodes. Check out our miniseries. Lots of fun stuff here. Lots of fun wrestling talk.
Absolutely. So again, special thanks to her and all of her followers that came over to check us out. We will have her back on in the future. That's for sure. And the one other thing I want to add, one of our most loyal listeners, followers, we'll hear from him during the faction section too. But that is Brian over on our Facebook group, dude. Shout out to him. He's always commenting, always liking, always supporting us. And we have a video of his WWF and WCW collection right here on our YouTube channel. So check that out. But he recently went to a live event in his hometown with his kids, and he was posting videos from it, photos from it. His profile photo right now is literally Cody Rhodes taking a selfie of him with his daughter, Brian, and his daughter. It talk about a power move. It's literally Cody Rhodes taking the photo. So there you go. So Brian and his daughter are the celebrities in that photo, if you're really looking at it from that perspective.
Cool.
But he actually posted a video that I want to share with you, and he gave us permission to do this. It is hilarious. So Brian had seats right on the entrance ramp for this live event. And I'm just going to play it. This is him sort of giving Finn Balor some heat. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. And then we'll move on. I promise, guys. But I could not bear not playing this. So here we go. Give this a watch.
Finn Balor, you buy your Legos pre-built, you bum! You bum! You buy your Legos pre-built, you bum! You bum! You buy your Legos pre-built, you bum! You bum! You buy pre-built Legos! You bum! Miss, sign or sign? Can you sign or sign? Thank you so much. Kalamazoo, Michigan, baby! Let's go!
Oh my God, man. This is why I love wrestling. That's
pretty great. That's pretty great. Props to Brian and his daughter.
Yeah.
Really incredible stuff. Props to The Miz for signing that sign, being a good dude.
Absolutely.
And oh my God, props to Finn Balor for leaning into that, for catching that little thing in his ear and realizing how much fun it was. I always, you and I have both done our share of bartending, and I've done it enough where especially in the theater setting, since we're running through people so quick, you hear the same things over and over and over again that it's a lot of it becomes tedious. whenever somebody says something that I haven't heard before, I will go out of my way to acknowledge it and even probably bring up that I guarantee that felt very much like a Finn Balor, like, finally somebody's saying, nobody's just saying you suck or F you or any of that stuff.
Right.
I bought pre-built Legos.
Like props to Brian for coming up with that.
That's great. That's great.
And also, I played that for my dad, and he was like, "So is that guy known for buying pre-built Legos?" And I'm like, "I don't think so. I think that was just a total burn that Brian came up with on the spot. Now he is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's going to be known for."
Funny.
Yeah, that like just the innocence that was there. I love it. So again, Brian, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, well done, pal.
Yeah. So let's do it, buddy. Let's get to our recaps of SmackDown and Raw. I'll run through SmackDown really quick.
Sure.
And I have to say before we do it, I texted you right before SmackDown, and I was like, dude, this is going to suck. I can just feel it. This is going to be one of the worst SmackDowns to date. They don't have anything going on right now.
Apropos of nothing. It
Right.
was maybe, I think 15 minutes we're going to show up. And Ryan just was like, you know what grinds my gears? Like, he just had to.
SmackDown.
There's no.
I don't know what. I must have been in a really bad mood or something. I didn't have my afternoon coffee. But yeah, but I could not have been more wrong, right? So let's go here. CM Punk addressed the home crowd of Chicago at this SmackDown. He was finally home again, and the place went nuts, obviously. And then Paul Heyman came out, and they hugged, and I loved it. It was very, very nice to see those two back again. Heyman warned Punk to leave because the Bloodline wasn't afraid to jump him in his hometown, in his hometown. And he also asked Punk, "Can you take me with you?" Oh, dude. I was like, oh, man. He's not even like mincing words anymore. He's done. He's done with the Bloodline.
For somebody who is a recent Hall of Fame inductee, and I say all the time, it's very rare when wrestler, and Heyman's not a wrestler, but I talk of him in the same light because it's,
absolutely
similar stuff. It's very rare when wrestlers are funny. It's even rarer when they're good actors, but they can feel natural, whatever. But it's the saying, doing stuff like that. Heyman is so good as an actor in these moments that it's and Punk is very good too. So it's nice to get to see them play off of each other. But I just enjoyed that very much. He's doing career work right now. It's really impressive. Really
when
incredible.
They talked about the Bloodline being in the third inning, I didn't believe him, but dude, I couldn't agree more now. I'm totally in.
And when the OG Bloodline comes back, like it's gonna be an explosion. Those are I don't even know what I want or what would happen. I would almost just be like, you know what? Have them come back and you think they're going to fight. And then Roman Reigns just takes control and the Bloodline is just 8 people deep at this point. Like, why not? But who knows? I don't want to predict too much, even though I will say, I want to cut you off just a smidge.
Please.
Because I responded. I wasn't going to bring up the texts at all. I just want to point that out. Even though you texted me at 7:48, wrestling's on at 8. And you said, I'm sorry, dude, but SmackDown is such S word nowadays. And my response was, is it on early? Like, you said it in such a present tense that I was
watching it already.
Yeah, I was like, did I miss something? But then either way, a little later, I said, gotcha. And I think it doesn't help. The Bloodline ain't that interesting anymore. Was wrong. Wyatt 6 could still show up tonight. I was wrong about that. What I was not wrong about is I said, I also think Drew McIntyre will show up tonight. I sent that to you at 7:59. And then at 8:53, I sent you the tweet of Drew McIntyre taking out CM Punk a little later in the episode.
You're a genius.
Yeah. Am I 1 out of 3? 1 out of 3 is bad. 1 out of 3 is bad. It's not the 1 out of 3 ain't bad. It's 1 out of 3 is very bad.
Is totally bad.
But I'm taking it.
Take it. Take the win. Excuse me while I go through puberty. Let's see here. Heyman's desperation to leave the Bloodline is hitting a fever pitch, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then we move to Bianca Belair versus Chelsea Green versus Michin for Money in the Bank qualifying match. Chelsea Green won. I was not expecting that.
So far, all the Money in the Bank choices, aside from like maybe Jey Uso, because Jey I don't think needs a boost, but I also don't think he's going to win because they're pushing him so hard as the winner right now. It feels like, who knows? I could easily see, who knows? We'll see what happens. But I like that all the people winning so far are people who could use the boost.
Yeah, that's true. Andrade is another one we'll talk about. Yeah,
he's my money is on him for winning the SmackDown one, just because it's weird. The Money in the Bank is like a blessing and a curse. Like we saw it work out very well for Damian Priest.
Yeah.
Yes, and we've seen it work out for a while. I think we just came up on the 10th anniversary of the Shield, like all winning it in one night, like the title exchanges throughout them through one night because of the money. It can be really good. Other times we can see people languish with that briefcase and it just kind of loses its meaning and excitement. I hope not, but given WWE's track record with Andrade so far, I see him winning the belt and then them not really doing anything, or winning the briefcase and them not using it correctly. I could be wrong.
But he is a champion right now. Lest we forget, he is the speed champion.
Sure. Yeah, you're right. I did forget. I'm so sorry.
How dare you? That is a prestigious title.
Elan, I'm sorry.
Shout out to Twitter X, baby.
Yes, please. Yes. Masterful gambit, sir.
Love it. Who else we got? Oh, Carmelo Hayes came out on top as well. Yeah.
Another great choice. And I like Carmelo. Yep. And I think Randy Orton doesn't need to be in the Money in the Bank match. Also because the other snag with the Money in the Bank match, it's one of those weird... The World Heavyweight title does not have any kind of prestige yet. It does not feel like a big deal. It's exciting. It's a good belt. It looks fine. I don't love the WWE symbol exploding at, but it feels more like an Intercontinental title to me, or something along those lines, like a second tier title. The main title, the Universal title, is still the main title, and they can only have certain people challenge for it and certain things. So the kind of excitement that comes down a little bit for me for the Money in the Bank currently is that whoever has that briefcase is more than likely going to challenge for the World Heavyweight belt and not the Universal belt. They could do something crazy. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it is a nice stepping stone while also keeping the stakes. Like stakes feel still a little low,
little mid.
But we'll see. This will be the fourth. We won't be seeing anybody tossed off of buildings at this Money in the Bank like we did 4 years ago. So,
yeah, gotta love that.
Rey Mysterio just getting thrown to his death, and then showing up on Raw the next night.
Yeah, well, someone else just came back from the dead too. We'll get there.
Yeah, we will.
Shout out to Carmelo Hayes. I've been so harsh on the dude since they brought him up. I just want to say, that dude carried NXT on his back and really, really stepped it up and helped people over there. Yeah. So I can't wait to see what he does. I really think he's going to flourish in the WWE when the time is right. Andrade beat Kevin Owens and Grayson Waller to advance. And then we got to the part you predicted, and that was Drew McIntyre, dude. Oh my God. Bloodied CM Punk to a pulp, carried him out to the entrance ramp like dirty laundry, dropped him, took his bracelet, and left the building.
Did Punk say he was cleared to wrestle when he was in the ring?
I believe he did.
Okay.
If he didn't, he was hinting at it.
Gotcha.
What I think is going on here, and I could be wrong, I don't know if he's 100% medically cleared yet.
Yeah,
and I feel like this was their way. I mean, we didn't see the beating that McIntyre put on him, so maybe he's not quite ready yet, but getting there. And this was I don't know. I don't want to get too behind the scenes, but no matter what, my imagination is what really made it even more brutal. Whatever
and
McIntyre
it was part of. It's part of this thing that they're doing right now, which I really love, which is having the camera move and stuff in those backstage segments and having it went from an interview to this other thing. Just really cool. I'm really loving the stuff that they're doing. Real quick, because we did not get to address this. I am also glad that they did this moment because the worst thing to come out of the Punk McIntyre storyline so far is McIntyre going on TV and quote unquote quitting last week.
Right. Yeah,
that was the dumbest thing they've done. It feels like they just kind of jettisoned it immediately. It's like a bad joke. You drop it at the first sign of trouble. His Twitter is already back because he like quit and then deactivated his Twitter. And it's like, bro, we just saw you gifted a sword
by The Rock
like last month to say that your contract was renewed. Like it's one of those weird things where that storyline has felt so grounded so far that when they did that, I was just kind of like, guys, come on.
It was a misstep.
Could you think of nothing else tonight? Nothing? Like I would have much rather see him just like, beat up random people backstage, but I guess that's happened before too, but it's like, don't do that. It just did. I didn't buy it for a second. I'm glad they got rid of it.
Nobody did. Yeah. It just didn't work.
Even in the like suspension of disbelief, I would sooner believe that Chad Gable got a hole in his head than I would believe that Drew McIntyre quit on live TV. Because at least that is the direction that storyline has been going so far. This kind of crazy Wyatt Sick stuff. And I think that opening segment really set the tone. Whereas the tone for the McIntyre Punk stuff is not person pretending to quit. It just hasn't been. So
yeah, agreed. Let's see here. Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa was the main event of SmackDown. Cody won by DQ because of interference by, of course, the Bloodline. And Kevin Owens and Randy Orton came out to help Cody, which was awesome.
Love that little crew. Love that little crew.
I love that triple. Yeah, and apparently they're all gonna have a match, I think, next week on Raw. Or SmackDown, excuse me. Chaos ensued, and we got the debut of Jacob Fatu. Or Jacob Fatu. Oh my god, man. Never heard of the guy. Started looking into him, terrified of what I'm learning and seeing. And finally, I'm on board with this new Bloodline. I think it took Jacob Fatu to convince me that this new Bloodline is truly terrifying and could kill someone. Look at what Jacob Fatu did to Cody at the end.
It was really impressive.
Scary.
And that's a big dude who can move. He's good on the mic. He's good. Like, I don't know if you've seen him do like I've watched that man doing moonsaults off of cages and stuff. Like I've
never seen him wrestle.
Dude, I remember a few months ago when he first got signed, my man's Sean Waltman, the legendary X-Pac, was on Twitter just being like, you guys aren't ready for Jacob Fatu. Like, you are not ready for how good this dude is. And yeah, we'll see. I think they've been doing good work with Solo. I think they're trying. I don't think it's catching just yet, personally. And my hope is that Jacob Fatu does not overshadow him, but we'll see what happens. Maybe that could be interesting too.
You know what? It reminds me of Seinfeld, where Jerry is kind of the weakest one, in the orbit, and everyone around him are the true, like, funny characters that everyone remembers. Let's be honest.
No, you're not wrong. Yeah.
So I don't know. I love Solo. I think he's doing a great job.
I do too. I want the best for him.
Me too.
Whatever that means.
We want the best for you, honey.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, man. They went off air and Cody broke a few ribs from what I heard. He was at a live event the next night and he said, I broke 3 ribs after Jacob Fatu did what he did to me. But I'm not going anywhere, guys. So shout out to Cody for that. Let's move to Raw, Angie. You want to take Raw?
Sure. So we had Drew McIntyre come out and talk about how he beat up Punk and that he stole Punk's bracelet with his wife and dog's name on it. Some heinous stuff. And I love like that. That's the stuff that I like from this feud is the fact that they have just gone deeply personal the entire time. From the jump. And I think that is the way to do that storyline. I think they're both very good at it. It's going to be the match of SummerSlam. Like it's going to be the best one. I kind of want like a stipulation, but I kind of don't. I always go back and forth with like big singles matches, but the hype meter went right back up this past week for those two. So that's exciting. Seth Rollins and Damian Priest cut promos and about their match coming up at Money in the Bank, with Seth saying that if he loses, he'll never challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship again. And if Damian Priest loses, he has to leave Judgment Day. I got to say, I love this. Because I have
Fine.
I have no idea which one is going to happen.
Right.
I really
Exactly.
don't.
It is a
And
nail biter, dude.
if anything, I could see Priest winning and quitting anyway. Like that's because I don't think
Which
he's on
we've
for Judgment Day.
wanted.
Yeah,
You and I have been stressing how much we want Damian Priest out of the Judgment Day for a while now. He deserves it.
Yeah, he's outgrown that group, and I
Yeah.
still, and then Liv Morgan can be the leader, which is what it feels like they're teeing up anyway. And I think that's the only way to keep. They've done a good job with that crew keeping it fresh, and they just added another wrinkle to that last night, which we'll get to in a moment.
Mhm.
But I don't think Priest needs to be there anymore. And I think if anything, it's kind of stagnating his growth just a little bit.
Agreed.
So we will see. We had a men's Money in the Bank qualifying match where Chad Gable beat Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, which is pretty awesome. And then got haunted by Nikki Cross at the end, who gave Michael Cole a VHS tape to play. We had the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile approach Gable afterwards. Again, like we're getting to some. You and I both talked about that. We want them Creed brothers with Chad Gable.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to see what happens there. I'm excited to see.
I'm glad they slowed it down.
Yeah, I am too.
Because everyone wants it. I think Gable and they're gonna be the new Alpha Academy. I think.
Right.
That's where I think.
Yeah,
this
we'll
is
see.
heading.
Yeah, oh, sure. Yeah. And then maybe
I'm
we'll get
so
some
happy to see
faction
Ivy
action.
Nile. Yeah. Yes. Some faction action
against the old Alpha Academy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I gotta say, we also missed Otis finally turning on Chad Gable, and that was a pretty stellar moment.
It was great.
That was a pretty stellar moment. They played that really, really well.
Yep.
All right, we got the VHS tape that was played from Uncle Howdy from Nikki Cross that involved Uncle Howdy interviewing Bo Dallas and really getting into whether or not he was exploiting the death of Bray Wyatt over this, which is a pretty interesting angle to take.
Yeah.
And
what do you think?
I honestly, I voted on our little Twitter survey. I think I need to see a little bit more first. It's tough in that all this stuff is always tough. And I think we already know that Bo Dallas was Uncle Howdy to begin with. So he was clearly part of these plans.
Mm-hmm.
But I never know. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel exploitative yet. So far, it feels very much done in an honoring way. Just like in the sense that, for instance, I don't think we'll ever find out who the sixth member is. I think the sixth member is spiritually Bray Wyatt.
I was going to ask you that because I do agree with you. I think that'd be a really, really going through puberty today, buddy. What a special day for the podcast. Excuse me. I agree. I think it would be so cool if Wyatt's memory was the sixth member.
And they but I want them to never address it. Never.
Okay. That's fair.
That makes sense.
Like that. I absolutely like that. Now I don't even want to think about who could be the sixth member because
Alexa Bliss.
Yes, agreed. I heard she's
been missing long enough.
Yeah.
They've been good about making sure that factions aren't like only dudes and one woman. I mean, not too good about it, but I think that's something that they could be better about. So we'll see.
Man. Because
I
would love for her to be in it, but I also don't. I want it to be Bray Wyatt's memory.
Sure. Yeah. Braun Strowman is also a good choice still.
Okay.
But then you also have Eric Rowan already. We'll see. Yeah. Jury's still out on that one for me, but I thought the video was very good.
It was good. And I should stress our Twitter poll that we did put up. Do you think it's right to use Bray Wyatt's death in a new Wyatt storyline? 38% said yes. 0 said no. 50% said need to see more. And 12% said who cares. So clearly 50% agree with you that we need to see more. We need to see this play out. And I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Right now, it does not feel exploitative.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Please.
So then we got Dom and Liv, some stuff heating up over there. The picture of Dom going around with all his chicken nuggets is the thing that's getting me all hot under the collar.
Those look good,
chicken
man.
Nuggets, they look pretty great.
And they were playing the game too, right?
They looked very store-bought kind of. What's that? Say that again.
They were playing your game too, weren't they? On the old
Yes, they were.
Xbox
Yes,
there?
they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were playing it on a PS5, but they were playing some WWE 2K24.
Sorry,
Which is
forgive me.
pretty great. Ooh, I think a new expansion of that drops soon. I'll have to hop back on the old Twitch. I said that like I have time to do anything. I'm so tired. No. So then we got Lyra Valkyria defeated Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler to advance the Money in the Bank. Again,
Love
a great
it.
choice. A great
She's
choice. I
fantastic.
want the Money in the Bank is like that should be the whole thing. Is it's like, oh, you get a chance for all these people to have these huge spots and show off what they can do. Like that's what's exciting about Money in the Bank.
Love it.
Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker agreed to a match at Money in the Bank for the Intercontinental Championship. Really excited about that one. I think Braun Breaker could win.
Really?
Yeah, I really do.
It's time.
I think so. I think it's time for Sammy. I never thought was going to be long for that belt anyway. Because I think they see him as a world champion. But I think it's mainly, I think Braun Breaker they need to keep this kind of push going because I think it's going well so far.
He is doing fantastic.
Really
I think it was 3 weeks ago when I told you I don't get it. Again, I'm proven wrong yet again. The WWE constantly surprises me.
And we don't see it on here, but he wrestled what's his face last night? Kaiser. Yep.
I did forget that in the outline. I apologize.
Only because something I will say though is that Kaiser apparently got injured in that match.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So we might not be. So yeah, that might. Even though he was having his little feud with Sheamus, that might get cut short. And then we had Justice League. We had the Judgment Day versus Awesome Truth for the tag titles. Liv Morgan showed up and helped Judgment Day, JD McDonough, and Finn Balor win those belts. And I thought it was a pretty great finish. And that crowd was real upset. And
dude, so was I. And again,
I'm always happy to see belts change hands on a weekly show anyway. But I thought it was a good match, and I thought it ended well. And we'll see. I
hate Liv Morgan even more now. I hate her even more. To take the belt from the most beloved tag team in the past 6 months, Awesome Truth.
Yeah.
Good run.
Good
run for them.
I like them.
Me too.
Those new tag belts.
Yeah.
All right. That's Raw. That's SmackDown. Let's talk factions, baby.
Let's do it.
If you are unaware, factions, stables, groups, whatever you want to call them, is a collective of, I don't know, what would you say, 3 or 4 wrestlers? What's the tipping point for you as to when it goes from being just like a little group to like a faction, like a strong
That's a good
group?
question, man. I would say 4. I'm going to say 4 is the threshold. Yeah.
And I think nothing makes that more evident than our response to Jacob Fatu becoming the 4th member of the Bloodline this past week. Like it didn't it felt like something was still a little off, and then they introduced a 4th person, and then you're like, there you go. That's a fact.
I just realized I'm going to contradict myself with our factions because I did pick one with 3, but it is what it is.
Exciting. But yeah, so you and I each picked our 3 favorite factions. And we're going to talk about them right now. You want to go first with your number 1?
Yeah, sure. Are we going?
Or sorry, you're number 3. You're number 3.
Oh, okay.
Let's start with our least, quote unquote, least favorite, and go from there.
That's fair. Well, as everyone knows on the show at this point, my favorite wrestler of all time is Edge. So I had to pick a faction that he was a part of very early in his WWE career, and that is The Brood.
The Brood.
Love it, man. We had a vampire show up in Gangrel, a very underrated WWE performer, in my personal opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's always cracks me up is I believe he based his character off of a character from a video game or some kind of board game or something, because whenever he was in video games, there was always things in like the opening credits about how they had to like Gangrel belonged to someone else, basically.
Oh, geez.
I'm sure I could look it up, but
like
I feel
IP
like it
sort of thing.
Yes, where they basically were just like, we're using Gangrel in accordance like with this and that. So
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of a funny little aside. But yeah, the Brood.
Dude, so I love Gangrel's entrance
Mhm.
music. It's one of my all-time favorites. I
Real
loved
good.
so we should mention the Brood was comprised of Gangrel, the Vampire, and then we had Edge and Christian. Their very early days. They started out in this quote-unquote faction, and their entrance, man, is probably one
Real
of my
good.
all-time favorites. They would rise from a ring of fire,
Mhm.
which seemed super dangerous, especially back then where I don't think safety regulations were up to par as they are now. And you also had Gangrel who would come out, drink a chalice of blood, and spit it out in the audience.
That's
Oh,
right.
just loved it. And they had the Victorian costumes and everything. And that was like peak Attitude Era. And that's when I
Yeah.
really got into wrestling. And when I
Sure.
saw vampires in wrestling, I was like, done. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I was a big Interview with a Vampire fan at the time, and you
Nice.
with the Lost Boys, and
And
yeah, dude.
I liked Interview with the Vampire too. The more I think, I always think like, oh, Lost Boys. I like more vampire movies than I think I realize. Hey, Poop.
Yeah. This is Layla. If you're
Hi,
watching this on
Layla.
TV, I'm dog sitting right now. That's Layla.
Bam,
She has got an
bam.
underbite, dude. Like vampire fangs. So
Oh,
appropriate time to show your face, buddy.
nice.
Anyways, so yeah, that is my number 3.
Excellent.
What you got for your number 3?
So I tried really hard to make sure that we would not have any doubles because I love. Ryan texted me and he was like, "Should we tell each other what they are ahead of time?" And I said,
Yeah, we're
no,
never quite sure.
No,
Yeah.
because sometimes we have like some happy accidents. We might have the same, and sometimes I want to try really hard. I thought you might pick the Brood. Not that they were going to be on my list, but I was trying to think about what's out there. I think we even see some like doubling up in people posting on the Facebook group. So I wanted to post or pick some picks that might feel out of left field, but I promise I will have good example or reasons for them.
Okay.
So my number 3 is the Job Squad. The Job Squad. The Job Squad. Oh, I'm sorry. You do not remember the Job Squad?
Refresh my
Which
memory.
JOB standing just over broke. It had Al Snow, Blue Meanie, Bob Holly, Scorpio, and our good man Gilbert, baby. So
shout out to
yeah,
Gilbert.
so the Job Squad, which a play on them being like jobbers, like all the jobbers that would just come out and lose to people.
Genius.
It also had like shirts that it was basically making fun of the NWO. It was like the JOB, the Job Squad, and they would just come out and still kind of be jobbers, but they did a lot of fun stuff in their short, brief little tenure. They were only active from 98 to 99. They were there long enough to like get those shirts and like some of the video games and stuff. And I love wrestling can do self-referential stuff like that really well sometimes. And that to me is a perfect example of it. And I loved the Job Squad. It's a bunch of weirdos, real silly. So that's my number 3 is the Job Squad. Shout out to the Job Squad. I'm not surprised that you do not remember the Job Squad. I can almost guarantee that you won't remember my number 1 pick. So that is a tease for later.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't thought about the Blue Meanie in years. I tried to black that out, but wow.
Nah, Blue Meanie's awesome.
Blue Meanie's great. I know. That's a wonderful pick, Andrew. Okay.
It's like mostly
number...
ECW folks too. Now that I think about it,
ECW.
Wasn't
Yeah,
Stevie Richards? Right. I could have swore Stevie Richards was a member of the Job Squad, at least a little bit. He had to have been. Anyway,
speaking of Stevie Richards, I'm moving to my number 2, which I believe was one of. Oh gosh, really?
No, go ahead. I just have it. Can I guess? Can I guess?
Yeah,
is that okay?
please.
I don't want to steal your thunder. Is it right to censor?
Of course it is. Of course it. Why was this one of yours?
No, it's not.
Oh,
it's not.
Perfect.
I just I just.
So let me explain why.
Didn't have a lot of factions. Yes, please do.
Let me explain why.
Explain why these uptight people who didn't were the bad guys.
You ready for this? Well, I should mention. Where is my phone?
Oh, you're gonna give a shout out. You're gonna pull out your Bull Buchanan action figure?
No, I promise. Not today, at least. I'm gonna go to our Facebook group because one of our Facebook members did also pick Right to Censor. And I do want to point out why they picked it because it's also why I picked it too. So shout out to Ben Berryman over on our Facebook group.
Ben, friend of the show. Hi, Ben.
Yep. So I'm going to read his. We're going to get to our listener submissions, but because it's one of mine as well, I did want to stress
fair.
this. Ben says, I have two, one for me and one for my friend Jeremy. So let's go to Ben's. Mine is Right to Censor. I hated them as a kid, but have come to appreciate how effective they were at getting heat and even the parody aspect of the group. Even the name Goodfather gets a chuckle out of me. And it sounds like I'm stealing Ben's reasoning, but I agree. When Right to Censor first came out, the faction, we should mention who were members. It was the Godfather. It was Ivy. It was Steven
Ivory.
Richards. Ivory,
Right.
excuse me. Was it Ivory? No, wasn't it Ivy?
No, it's Ivory.
Oh,
The
okay.
wrestler? Yeah, Ivory. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Excuse me. And also Val Venus was a member too.
Well, but wasn't it because I think it was like Stevie Richards, Ivory, and Bull Buchanan, and then they kind of turned Godfather and Val Venus.
You are
if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Two of the most like profane wrestlers.
Yeah, which is great, which is really funny. And like that is a fun, yeah.
Worst theme music ever, annoyed the crap out of me. Again, more heat. Their whole thing was during this period, the Attitude Era. WWE was getting a lot of flack for how profane they were being, over sexualizing things, swearing, all of it, violence, all of that. So the Right to Censor came about and said, no, we're censoring everything. And they would come out with their buttoned up white shirts, their ties, and they were literally a parody of probably these executives and whatnot at the time, saying, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And I just loved like the contradiction of this group who was like, no to violence. And then they would go and just beat the living hell out of other wrestlers. So yeah, that's why I picked Right to Censor and for Ben's reasoning as well.
Man. I don't know. I'm glad I'm going to it's so funny. My next group is not in the Attitude Era, but aside from that, I'm excited to see who your number one is, because I feel like we might be solely in the Attitude Era for this.
Yeah,
even though I guess Right to Censor is kind of like right on the line. But my number two, the Nexus, baby, and I loved this. I'm pulling this logo right up to the phone. I loved that. So clean. The design on that is so perfect. And I used to
you know what it reminds me of? Playbill. Playbill.com. Dude, go to playbill.com right now. Everybody.
Yeah.
Same color pattern, same sort of font. Like that's what I thought of every time I saw that Nexus symbol. Go to playbill.com, guys. Sorry, Andrew, continue.
No, it's okay. So the Nexus started out with, it was like a group of up and coming wrestlers who all had like coaches, and there was like a competition, and then they had this one night on Raw where they decided they weren't like getting as much play as they should have, and they came out and beat everybody up. They had like this kind of NWO moment where you couldn't tell if it was staged or not staged. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Daniel Bryan, who was a member of the group at the time. But I think he got in trouble. Oh, yes. Yeah. He got in trouble for, I think, choking somebody too hard, because it's literally, he joined the group on June 7th, 2010, and then was out of the group by June 11th, 2010. Yes, there we go. He strangled somebody with his necktie and spat in Cena's face. And he was released from the WWE for violating the TV PG rating. He eventually would come back, we would know, but I do remember that. But listen to this of the founding members of the group. We got Michael Tarver, who I remember him. Skip Sheffield, Darren Young, Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, David Otunga, who was the only person to stay on the group for the entire time, because they then had a separate version of the group, the New Nexus, that was led by CM Punk. Daniel Bryan, Wade Barrett, and Husky Harris, aka Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt. So you had all these really incredible wrestlers as part of this group that felt like a real force. And I think I loved the branding. I loved, even when they had Punk take over the group, they wore like the shirts, but they had I might have been on the back, but he had like a special edition version of the shirt. It just felt cool. It felt disruptive at a time when WWE wasn't really doing a lot of disruptive stuff. And it speaks to the Daniel Bryan getting fired part that they wouldn't even let that slide.
Yeah.
And it really left an impact on me to the point where and they wore these armbands that I thought were sweet.
I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah. Super stylish, man.
Yeah.
That was a stylish faction.
I just think that was at a time when I was watching a lot of wrestling too, so that probably has something to do with it. But the Nexus. I loved the Nexus. I would be okay if they brought it back. Like, it is a great, just have the people from NXT invade or something.
Right.
We'll
get a cross promotion with
Brand
Playbill.
Wars.
Yeah.
Brand Wars.
Playbill.com, baby. Let's get some cross.
Yeah.
I don't know why that popped in my head. Yeah.
Because it looks like the Playbill logo.
Right?
It popped in your head because that's what it looks like.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm yelling.
Calm down.
All right, you're number one.
My number one. Okay. Andrew,
yes.
I have to ask. Does Up Yours ring a bell?
I thought you were going to say, are you ready? It does ring a bell because I was a 10-year-old who bought the Make 7 Up Yours shirt, if you remember that.
Yes.
Is that oh my God, this is part of it? Was Orlando Jones part of the
No.
that I'm not familiar with?
I'm just
shouts to Orlando Jones.
So
but sorry, go ahead.
My number one is the Union. Do you remember the Union?
Ryan, I'm going to stop you right there because my number one is also the Union.
Oh my God.
I'm dead serious.
This is why we have a podcast.
That's so funny. Holy cow, man.
Here I was thinking I was being so unique.
That's so funny. No, I thought that's the main reason I even put them as my number one, and I'm glad I did because they were almost going to be my number three, and then I was like, no, I want to do the one. It's like one of the only factions that Mankind was part of that I'm aware of.
Exactly. That's why I was so excited to pick it because I thought you would be excited, and here we are.
It also is very exciting because they existed for less than a month.
But look at the star power, dude.
I know. Yep. Lineup.
Go through
Mankind.
It. Yeah, summarize it for me.
Mankind, The Big Show, Test, Ken Shamrock. Great little group. They used to come out with 2x4s.
Yep.
Because, working class or whatever.
Yeah.
And
there's no better symbol for the working class than a 2x4.
Yeah, and it was something they were sick of the corporation. They were sick of the Ministry of Darkness. So they were just coming out to be the guys, the working class wrestlers who weren't part of these groups and are being called something that could never exist in the WWE, and something that one of the reasons that I think it had to be killed off is because the WWE famously very anti-union, so they can't keep a group called it's almost kind of teeters that right to censor line too, where they're just like, oh, we're poking at something, but we probably can't poke at it for too long.
Yeah, you can't poke that bear too long.
That's so funny that
I know. Well,
derailed my whole.
So I mentioned, no, I'm sorry. That's my job to derail you.
No, it's just no. Yeah, all my plans are out the window.
I've ruined it yet again. The faction, the Union, stood for the Union of People You Ought to Respect, Son, by Mankind, and that stood for Up Yours. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. Isn't that awesome?
So funny. I didn't look into that enough, so that's very good. And even though I see it right here on the Wiki Wrestling page, Up Yours. Oh boy!
Did we mention the kind of ancillary members that came and went in the group? Did we mention?
Oh no, I know that Vince led them out at one point.
He did, but also The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
There it is.
They were kind of side members that came in to support them, which makes sense, especially for Stone Cold.
Yeah, it feels like when the Justice League or the Justice Society were first covered in the comics, Batman and Superman would show up occasionally because they had their own books, and they were just like, we don't need to put these guys in there forever. They got they're selling books. We don't need this. So it's that's very, very funny. Oh man, yeah, and it's such a I get when I think faction, that's probably the first one that pops into my head for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I probably a big part of that is Mankind. I also liked the Big Show a lot of the time. I liked Ken Shamrock. I liked Test.
Yeah.
So it was, and it's such a strange I remember even being when I was little, because I couldn't have been. I was barely 10 years old when these guys were wrestling in this group, and I remember even at the time being like, "Where'd the Union go? What
Aw.
did we?" Because they basically they do the corporate ministry, and the Union just kind of quietly stop talking
Yeah,
about them. Actually, well,
it's
so
like a
part of that
whimper.
was Mick Foley had to get knee surgery. So that was one
Oh,
thing that kind of
okay.
kept him out of the group. He had been wrestling with a lingering knee injury and had to get knee surgery finally. But yeah, they just kind of got rid of him. And I think that's just so wild and
They
such a
ran
funny.
out
It
of
was
2x4s in the budget.
they
That's
ran
what
out
it
of
is.
2x4s. There it is. Yeah.
Oh,
So
dude, that's
silly.
so. I love that we had the same number one faction.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a time of faction action. Let's be honest. The Ministry,
Action,
Corporation,
baby.
you had them. I'm sure you had
Mm-hmm.
others. Ah, I love
Mm-hmm.
it. Should we? Let me ask you this: should we mention our Facebook group recommendations on their favorite factions?
No, I'm just kidding. Yes, let's do it. Yeah. Let's. I want to know who our fans like.
Okay, good. Let's go to first. We have written in to the Facebook group. We have David, who said that his top 3 favorites were the Heart Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Great choice. Degeneration
Mm-hmm.
X, obviously. I was
Sure.
going to pick them too, but it was a bit too obvious.
Yeah.
And Main Event Mafia was his number 3. And then he goes
Well,
to
TNA action. I
number
respect that.
yeah, man. That's a deep cut.
Oh
And
wait,
then
was that TNA? Or no, they were the Voodoo Kin Mafia, or was it also the Main Event
oh,
Mafia over there? I just remember at one point they were like, "We're the Voodoo Kin Mafia" because that spelled Vincent Kennedy. That was McMahon's initials.
oh, how witty.
But I think Main Event Mafia was definitely TNA.
Was okay.
Yes, it was. Okay, that's enough. That's enough
All
out of me.
right.
Sorry, keep going.
So he had those 3, 2, 1. And then at number 769, his favorite faction, the NWO.
That's fair. Bury
I
him
love
deep.
that. I love
Yeah.
how much he clearly hated the NWO.
It's so funny. I feel like
yeah.
the NWO is so popular as an idea and as a merch seller, obviously. And then if you look back at some of the stuff from their existence, some of it's really hard to watch. It's really painful stuff.
It's
Just not
cringy.
very good.
Yeah.
It's cringy, and it's just all of a sudden everybody on the roster is a member of the NWO. And then when they bring them back in the WWE, that is one of the greatest examples of the WWE doing something that has all this potential and then just wasting that potential almost immediately for various reasons. But what else we got from the old Facebook group?
What else we got? We got Paul, our good friend Paul.
Paul.
Yep.
Paulie.
He will be joining us for our Money in the Bank review coming up, guys.
Heyo.
So stay tuned for that. He also has the Heart Foundation, which makes sense. Paul is Canadian, so I get it. He has the Shield, obviously, and he has Degeneration X. So there you go. Three really good
People
choices.
like that DX.
Yep. Let's move to Ben. We should also add his friend Jeremy picked the Radicals.
Hey,
boom, the Radicals, which he feels like they were a precursor to the invasion angle, but were more effective than the invasion angle itself. He could not be more right on that.
Yeah, he's right. And it's funny. I actually learned recently, I think it was Sean Stasiak. The invasion angle was supposed to start more at WrestleMania 2000, I believe, where a bunch, might have been WrestleMania 17, but a bunch of WCW wrestlers were supposed to kind of like show up at that WrestleMania, and it was going to start there. And I think it was Sean Stasiak or someone else. I don't want to say him directly because I don't want to put this on him if it wasn't him. But somebody basically talked about how they were going to be doing it at a radio show or like on a radio show that weekend. And they were like, now you guys aren't going anymore. Or now you're not doing anything anymore. Like you ruined it. You ruined the surprise, which is fair. Yeah, so that's... But I love the Radicals. That's Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Perry Saturn. Great group.
Amazing.
That was it, right? Was there a fourth person?
No, it's just 3. Malenko.
Right. Yes. Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Malenko. Oh,
yeah.
Jeepers. Dean, I'm sorry.
How dare you?
Dean Malenko's awesome.
Legend.
Very cool. Yep.
Legend.
Great group. Great little group.
I've got 2 more written in here, Andrew, that came in as we were recording. So I'll go through those quickly. We have Lawrence over on the Facebook group says the 4 Horsemen. They were just that darn dominant. They had every corner covered, especially when Barry Windham came into the fold.
Sure.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice. And then last but not least, Brian, who sent in the video to us, he did send an audio version, but I was not able to retrieve that. So he took the time to write in as well.
Nice.
So thank you, Brian.
Appreciate you, Brian.
Yep. He says Evolution is my favorite stable because of the nostalgia it brings me. My friends and I fancied ourselves as Evolution in high school. We rolled up to prom blasting Motorhead and would have Pretty Boy playing where we I was the buffest, so I was Triple H or Batista. My other friend was the talker like Flair, and our third friend was naturally athletic like Orton. We also had a girl in our group. She became a lawyer in real life. But yeah, I love Evolution because we lived Evolution in high school.
Good to her. Good for her. That's hard. Law school. I don't know why I had to. But anyway, I real quick, just if I could.
If I learned anything from Daredevil, law school is hard.
It's hard. You can have Greek nationals trying to sway you to other. Is she Greek? Isn't it? It doesn't matter. I loved Legacy. I want to do a quick shout out to Legacy before we move on to our
What's that?
memos. Legacy was Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase.
Okay.
One of those three is currently in prison for being a real piece of garbage.
Which one?
Yeah, I know, not sure. But I loved that. I loved that little crew, and I remember thinking like, "Oh man, these guys are the future," and that was kind of true.
Yeah, you were 2 for 3.
2 out of 3 of them. Yep. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, maybe the other's a legend in prison. I don't know.
All I know is it felt like it's Ted DiBiase. He's the one in jail. And it really felt like he was taking that hit for his dad because his dad, they were both doing the same thing. And somehow his dad avoided going to prison, at least for now. And old Junior fell on that sword.
Very Sopranos-esque or Shakespearean, I guess.
There you go.
Should we get to our voicemails?
Let's do it.
Awesome. We had 2 voice messages of favorite factions. I'm going to go ahead and play the first one here. I have not listened to these ahead of time, so apologies in advance. If there's any profanity, we will bleep it out in retrospect.
Yeah.
Let's go with Topher.
Hey, this is Topher. And I gotta tell you, you asking about what's the best faction of all time, well, there ain't no other answer than New World Order for life. No, but seriously, it is the best faction of all time. I remember watching it form in front of my eyes, watching when I was younger on live television. Nothing has ever had the excitement that had. There are a lot of great factions that deserve to be named, that deserve to be in the discussion. I kind of, if I have to be honest, admit that D-Generation X was entertaining for longer, but they're not better than the original New World Order. And then when New World Order came back into WWE, that was incredible too. For the 2 or 3 months that it actually was the NWO before it fizzled out. But yeah, no, I'm all about that life. That was perfection. And if anyone says 4 Horsemen, I won't fight against them.
Okay. We know
Topher, this is Topher.
Sorry.
And I got
we know Topher, so I feel comfortable saying this. Agree to disagree. But look, I understand getting that excitement as a kid, especially, and I look back on them with rose-colored glasses as well, and that I just try to watch some of that stuff. And look, DX doesn't have a finger poke of doom. No other faction has the finger poke of doom that just drags down almost everything that they accomplished. It is like the height of hubris from that group, which I've been trying to get Ryan to talk about, and he just refuses. Don't apologize.
No.
Stick to your guns. Stick to your guns. You don't want to talk about the finger poke of doom.
I'm scared. I'm scared the NWO is going to come after me.
It'd be Vince Russo if it was anybody. Let's do this last one because then I got to go wake up.
All right, Brow. Yes, they need to get awake. So let's go. Let's wake them up, Andrew, with Andy over in the UK and his choice. Let's play this.
Hi guys, so my favourite faction of all time, I'm going to go for one that's probably not going to be overly popular, but it was at the peak of my fandom watching wrestling. So do you know what? Right to Censor, actually looking back, was a wonderful critique of the shit WWE was getting at the time from the parental board that was trying to sanction them and censor them, and they literally used that as a storyline. Gave Stevie Richards something to do. Ivory was brilliant in the role. You know, you had Mr. Venus, you had the Good Father. Bill Buchanan ended up in it as well, didn't he, I believe? So, yeah, Right to Censor, the most annoying music in wrestling history as well. And actually, you wanted to see them lose, and that's a good heel. That's a good faction. You wanted to see them get beat. Stuff like China beating Ivory at WrestleMania 17 and the kind of squash match and everything as well. So yeah, do you know what? Honourable mention to Right to Censor.
And it's funny. First of all, thank you to Andy and Topher for sending the voice memos. Thank you to anybody who wrote to us. We really appreciate it, and I don't want that to go unsaid. And it's funny. I think he echoed a lot of your same praise, which makes sense, and which I get. I will say, now it feels like a little. I feel like a modern day Right to Censor would be the whole "you just can't say anything anymore." People like it's funny to me. Sorry, it's more in the sense that I don't think that is a storyline that's such of its time that I think almost makes it even more fun to talk about and bring up, because now I feel like how do I put this?
You better be careful.
The Right to Censor stuff felt very right-wing coded, especially if you look at it now. There is, especially for things at the time, and it was this, and now that's kind of flipped in an interesting way that I don't think we need to get into right at the tail end of the episode. But I do like that it got brought up twice. Yeah. I do think that's very fun. And I wonder how it would go over now. There are certain factions. If you had to pick any of the ones that we've talked about so far to get a reboot right now, who would you pick? Go. Don't think, just say it.
Oh my gosh. Oh God. Union. I'm gonna just have to say Union, because there needs to be mother unions in the WWE, as Jesse Ventura has advocated for so long. So, oh my God, perfect. He's supposed to be working with the WWE again.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He is rumored to be doing something with them under a Legends contract. Have him be the manager of the new union.
There we go. I like that. I'm going to go with Nexus. I want NXT to invade and do like a new Nexus thing. Yeah. But that's yeah. See, so there we go. All right, Ryan, we got to wrap this up. I got to go.
Wrap it up, buddy. Yes.
Thank you, as always, to everybody listening. Keep listening. Keep checking out our mini episodes. Go to patreon.com/somewhere in the ring, somewhere ring pod. Look for on Twitter and Instagram. Just type in somewhere in the ring on Twitter and Instagram. You'll find us. Head over to our Facebook page, somewhere in the ring on Facebook, where we got awesome people like all the people you heard submitting all these wonderful comments and questions and voice memos today, who we love and appreciate so much. I am on Twitter at Sanford-Son, half white son of a black man on Instagram. There's stuff out there. You can find me. I don't have anything to plug right now, but I'm always around. Ryan, what do you got? Listen to Somewhere in the Skies, everybody.
Listen to Somewhere in the Skies. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. I'm going to be at Monster Fest this upcoming weekend in Canton, Ohio. You can go to smalltownmonsters.com to learn more. I would love to meet you guys there, sign books, all that good stuff. So join us there. Our merch store, I'm wearing one of our hoodies right now. I love it.
Yes.
Check out the merch store, where we now have a Dag Nabbit design of Andrew available in the store. So check that out. And everything I do is at somewhereintheskies.com. And yeah, guys, check out somewhereinthering.com as well, our website. And yeah, that's all we got. So Andrew, I'm going to let you do the honors this week, buddy, and ring that bell before we get out of here.
All right. Dust off these hands.
And you've been right to censor
with the what? Oh no! You censored my very niche musical theater reference.
Sorry, I had to. That's how annoying it was back then. Remember?
This has been Somewhere in the Ring. Thank you for listening. subscribe wherever you get your pods, and be sure to rate and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever possible. We'll see you again soon, somewhere in the ring.
This has been a production of LIONSGATE Sound. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever possible. Thank you for listening.